अहं मोदे स्थिरे कनकरुचिरे नीलशयरे वसन्तशान्ता सगजबलभद्रेण बलिना सुभद्रामत्यचितसुगलसेवावसरदो जगन्नाथस्वामी नयनपदकानि भवन्ते कृपापारावारा सजलजलदासेरुचिरो रमापाणि रमास्फुरतमलवक्त्रेण मुखा सुरेन्द्रेण
रघुनाथ जीव गोपाल अवतार रघुनाथ गोस्वामी वृंद की, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की, नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की, प्रेम से जगो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की, श्री राधा कृष्ण प्रभु गोविंद श्याम सुंदर राधा गिरी गोवर्धन की, ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की, मायापुर नवदीप धाम की, पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, गंगम यमुना मई की, भक्ति देव तुलसी महारानी की, श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की, श्री श्री निताय गौर सुंदर की, श्री प्रहलाद नरसिंहदेव भगवान की, श्री श्री राधा माधव की, श्री श्री गुरुवायूरप्पा स्वामी की, श्री श्री पंचतत्वा की, हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की, हरिनाम संकीर्तन की, श्रील प्रभुपाद ज्ञान बुद्धिस्ट प्रोग्राम की, श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण तंत्र प्राजक्त की, समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, all glory to the small devotees, all glory to the small devotees, all glory to the small devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
ॐ अज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिधि नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वतीदेवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशधारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय नरसिंह श्री नरसिंह जय जय श्री नरसिंहदेव प्रहलादेश जया पद्मा मुखपद्मा भृंगा उग्रं वीरं महाविष्णुं जलदं सर्वतोमुखं नरसिंहं भद्रं मृत्युर्नमाम्यहम्। ॐ नरसिंहाय नमः। ॐ महासिंहाय नमः। ॐ दिव्यसिंहाय नमः। ॐ महाबलाय नमः। ॐ उग्रसिंहाय नमः। ॐ महादेवाय नमः। ॐ सम्मजाय नमः। ॐ प्रलोचनाय नमः। ॐ रौद्राय नमः। ॐ सर्वसुताय नमः। ॐ श्रीमनाय नमः। ॐ योगानंदाय नमः। ॐ त्रिविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ हरिणे नमः। ॐ कोलाहलाय नमः। ॐ चक्रिणे नमः। ॐ विजयाय नमः। ॐ जयवर्धनाय नमः। ॐ पांचजनाय नमः। ॐ परब्रह्माय नमः। ॐ अघोराय नमः। ॐ घोरविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ ज्वलन्मुखाय नमः। ॐ ज्वलमालिने नमः। ॐ महाज्वलाय नमः। ॐ महाप्रभुवाय नमः। ॐ नीतिलंजनाय नमः। ॐ सर्वसाक्षाय नमः। ॐ निर्निरीक्षाय नमः। ॐ प्रतापनाय नमः। ॐ महादंशाय नमः। ॐ वेदप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चण्डकोपिने नमः। ॐ सदाशिवाय नमः। ॐ हिरण्यकशिपूदंशिने नमः। ॐ दैत्यताण्डवमर्दनाय नमः। ॐ गुणभद्राय नमः। ॐ महाभद्राय नमः। ॐ बलभद्राय नमः। ॐ सुभद्राय नमः। ॐ करलाय नमः। ॐ विकलाय नमः। ॐ विकटाय नमः। ॐ सर्वकर्तिकाय नमः। ॐ शिशुमाराय नमः। ॐ त्रिलोकात्माय नमः। ॐ ईशाय नमः। ॐ सर्वेश्वराय नमः। ॐ विभुवाय नमः। ॐ पैगम्बराय नमः। ॐ दिव्याय नमः। ॐ अच्युताय नमः। ॐ काविने नमः। ॐ माधवाय नमः। ॐ मधोक्षजाय नमः। ॐ अक्षराय नमः। ॐ सर्वाय नमः। ॐ वनमालिने नमः। ॐ वरप्रदाय नमः। ॐ विश्वम्भराय नमः। ॐ अद्भुताय नमः। ॐ कार्याय नमः। ॐ श्री विष्णुवे नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ अनगस्त्राय नमः। ॐ नगस्त्राय नमः। ॐ सूर्यज्योतिने नमः। ॐ सुरेश्वराय नमः। ॐ सहस्रबाहुवाय नमः। ॐ सर्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सर्वसिद्धिप्रदायकाय नमः। ॐ वज्रवंशाय नमः। ॐ वज्रनगाय नमः। ॐ महानन्दाय नमः। ॐ परमपदाय नमः। ॐ सर्वमन्त्रेतरूपाय नमः। ॐ सर्वेन्द्रविदारमाय नमः। ॐ सर्वतन्त्रात्मकाय नमः। ॐ अव्यक्ताय नमः। ॐ सुव्यक्ताय नमः। ॐ भक्तवत्सलाय नमः। ॐ वैशाख शुक्लपुरोक्ताय नमः। ॐ शरणागतवत्सलाय नमः। ओम उदारकीर्तिने नमः ओम पुण्यात्माय नमः ओम महात्माय नमः ओम चंद्रविक्रमाय नमः ओम वेदात्रेयाय नमः ओम प्रवज्याय नमः ओम भगवानाय नमः ओम परमेश्वराय नमः ओम शिवसंगाय नमः ओम जगद्व्यापिने नमः ओम जगन्मायाय नमः ओम जगत्पालाय नमः ओम जगन्नाथाय नमः ओम महाकाय नमः ओम दिव्यरूपदाय नमः ओम परमात्माय नमः ओम परमज्योतिने नमः ओम निर्गुणाय नमः ओम निर्गेशने नमः ओम परतत्वाय नमः ओम परधामाय नमः ओम सच्चिदानंद विग्रहाय नमः ओम लक्ष्मीनरसिंहाय नमः ओम सर्वात्माय नमः ओम धीराय नमः ओम प्रह्लादपालकाय नमः ओम उग्रं वीरं महाविष्णुं जलन्तं सर्वतोमुखं नरसिंहं भद्रं मृत्युर्मृत्युर्नमाम्यहम् जय नरसिंहा श्री नरसिंहा जय जय श्री नरसिंह प्रह्लादेश दयापद्मा महापद्मा मीरा नमस्ते नरसिंहाय प्रह्लादलाददायिने रम्याकाशीपूर्वकः शीलगङ्गानकालाये दो नरसिंहा परतो नरसिंहा यदो यदो यामिदतो नरसिंहा कहि नरसिंहा हृदये नरसिंहा नरसिंहमदिं चरणं प्रपद्ये तव करकमलवरे नः अद्भुतशृङ्गा सलिला हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा जय केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे। श्री श्री प्रहलाद नृसिंहदेव भगवान की, श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की, श्री श्री दाई गौ सुंदर की, पति पौंसला प्रभुपाद की।
Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Ladita Shri Vishakan Vitamsha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakarini Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chiram Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Yasvanubhavam Akila Shrutisharamekam Mathyata Geetam Tadatitir Satam Tamo Andham Samsarinam Gurniya Vyasastunam Vayami Guru Muninam. We are just reading from Canto 3, Chapter 16, Text 9. Yesham vibharimi aham akhanda vikunta yoga maya vibhutir amalangri rajak kiridaihi vipramstu kuno vishahetayat arhanam buha sadhyan punati sahachandra lalamalokan. I am the master of my unobstructed internal energy, and the waters of the Ganges is the remnant left after my feet are washed. That water sanctifies the three worlds along with Lord Shiva, who bears it on his head. If I can't take the dust of the feet of the Vaishnava on my head, who will refuse to do the same? Purport: the difference between the internal and external energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is that in the internal energy or in the spiritual world, all the opulences are undisturbed. Whereas in the external or marginal material energy, all the opulences are temporary manifestations. The Lord's supremacy is equal in both the spiritual and material worlds. But the spiritual world is called the kingdom of God, and the material world is called the kingdom of Maya. Maya refers to that which is not actually a fact. The opulence of the material world is the reflection. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that this material world is just like a tree whose roots are up and branches down. This means that the material world is the shadow of the spiritual world. Real opulence is in the spiritual world. In spiritual world, the predominating deity is the Lord himself, whereas in the material world, there are many lords. What is the difference between the internal and external energies? That is the difference between the internal and external energies. The Lord says that although he is the predominating factor of the internal energy, and although the material world is sanctified just by the water that has washed his feet, he has the greatest respect for the Brahmanas and the Vaishnava. When the Lord himself offers so much respect to the Vaishnava and the Brahmana, how can one deny such respect to such personalities? Ye me tanur dvijavaran duhatir madiya bhutani alabdha sharanani cha veda buddhaya drakshyanti agakshatu hiyahimanyavastan kridra rusha mama kushanti abhidandanetuhu. The Brahmanas, the cows, and the defenseless creatures are my own body. Those whose faculty of judgment has been impaired by their own sin look upon these as distinct from me. They are just like furious serpents, and they are angrily torn apart by the bills of the vulture-like messengers of Yamaraja, the superintendent of sinful persons. Purport: the defenseless creatures, according to Brahma Samhita, are the cows, brahmanas, women, children, and old men. Of these five, the brahmanas and cows are especially mentioned in this verse because The Lord is always anxious about the benefit of the Brahmanas and the cows and is prayed to in this way. The Lord especially instructs, therefore, that no one should be envious of these five, especially the cows and Brahmanas. In some of the Bhagavatam readings, the word duhitrihe is used instead of duhitihi, duhatihi. But in either case, the meaning is the same. Duhatihi means cow, and duhitrihe can also be used to mean cow. Because the cow is supposed to be the daughter of the sun god. Just as children are taken care of by the parents, women as a class should be taken care of by the father, husband, or grown-up son. Those who are helpless must be taken care of by their respective guardians. Otherwise, the guardians will be subjected to the punishment of Yamaraja, who is appointed by the Lord to supervise the activities of sinful living creatures. The assistants or messengers of Yamaraja are likened here to vultures, and those who do not execute their respective duties in protecting their wards are compared to serpents. Vultures deal very seriously with serpents, and similarly, the messengers will deal very seriously with neglectful guardians. Om Tat Sat, Om Agyana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sakitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Jayapataka Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we are continuing with the discussion of the Brahmanas or the four Kumaras who have arrived at Vaikuntha and who are finding that they have been stopped by the two doormen and they curse them. In the meantime, the Supreme Lord Narayana hears about these things and he is arriving there. And looking at his beautiful form, the four Kumaras are stunned. They have earlier meditated on the form of the Lord in their hearts, but now they are able to see him directly. So they are so stunned looking at his very beautiful form. So their form is described very nicely here in previous shlokas. And then the Lord's beautiful lotus feet and the tulasi coming, the smell of tulasi coming from there attracts them. And they actually fall in love with the Lord. In other words, their bhakti gets aroused. Mad bhaktim labate param. They are known to be persons who are Brahman realized and looking eternally youngsters, small kids. They don't wear anything, they're naked and they're fully self-realized and they've decided not to pursue material life in any way and totally be dedicated to spiritual progress. And they have wandered into Vaikuntha. Being powerful Brahmanas, they sought an entry inside because their minds are very simple. They don't have any other desire but to get inside and let's see. We heard about Vaikuntha, we heard about Narayana, we want to see. So these doormen stopped that very simple desire they have without any other, material contamination. And so they said, how dare you stop us? We are just going inside. We don't have anything else in this world. We don't look for anything else but this. We don't know how to behave with people like us. You are unfit to be here. Curse them. So the Lord has appeared here, and He is very beautifully speaking. I'm using the word beautifully speaking. It may not be appropriate to say beautiful for words, but because it's the Lord, you see, He speaks very sweetly, it is mentioned. In the 10th canto, it is mentioned that his vacha, his words are so sweet that the gopis melt. They get convinced by everything he says. And he's mentioned that he's very expert at speaking and satisfying the gopis and his devotees. So you can get a glimpse of how beautifully he would speak. So as soon as he came to hear that the four Kumaras here, they're very exalted persons and they've cursed your doormen in Vaikuntha. The Dwarapalakas have been cursed. So the Lord comes out of his palace right up to the gate to see. And what he speaks is so nice and also sometimes very bewildering for people to understand. He comes and glorifies them, Brahmanas. Then he says that whatever you have done is correct only. I'm very sorry about my servants having done this to you and committed this offense to you. And then he explains how dear Brahmanas are to him. And he's saying that these things are very nicely done by you, all duties of a Brahmana and everything. So I am very inclined to the Brahmanas and the cows. And therefore what they have done, they deserve. He goes ahead further to say that on behalf of them, I take upon my head the responsibility for what they have done. They have been offensive to you. I take the responsibility for that. He even uses strong words in saying that I am willing to chop off my hand, which means one of my assistants does something like this, I'm willing to even get rid of him if it need be. So hearing the way he speaks as a representative of all in Vaikuntha to guests who have come to Vaikuntha gives us a lot of lessons. And here Prabhupada is speaking in the purport, two purports we read. One is the Lord himself saying, I myself will take the dust of the lotus feet of the Brahmanas, the Vaishnavas, and keep it on my head. And if I do that, why will everybody else not do it? Right? So we saw practically that Krishna washed the feet of Sudama in Rukmani's palace, appeared it, drank it and sprinkled it on his head. This is what is mentioned. So he's setting an example, as Krishna is saying here. So, Bhaktapada Jala Ara, Bhaktapada Dhuli Jala, Bhaktapada Jala, Bhakta Bhukta Avasesha, Tineda Mahadana. Three aspects of a Vaishnava are great treasure: is dust of his lotus feet, water washing his feet, and the remnants of food, prasadam, left by a Vaishnava. All these things, Tineda Mahadana, they are great treasure for those who are interested in progressing in devotion. And the Lord himself is demonstrating it here. He's saying that what to speak of anybody else doing it, I myself like to take the dust of the lotus feet of my devotees and place it on my head. I have so much appreciation for them. So here we can understand how high esteem should devotees be held in. It's not ordinary. They are not ordinary people. So they have to be held in high esteem, right? So Krishna is demonstrating that to the four Kumaras in front of all the Vaikuntavasis and the doormen. And Prabhupada is going further to say Krishna is speaking the glories of the Brahmanas. There are Brahmanas, there are cows, there are children, there are old people, all of them, they deserve protection. He lists here uh, women, children, old men, cows, and Brahmanas. All of them need to be protected. In fact, a government, a functioning Kshatriya, should make sure that this is in place. Protection at priority should be given to women, children, old men, cows, Brahmanas. And out of these things, priority is given to Brahmanas and cows. That's why in a large gathering, the Brahmanas are made to sit down first and given prasadam. Then children and women and old men and everything. That's how separate sections of people will be there who will be they'll be catering to these people. They're given preference. They need more protection. Women included, they need more protection. Of course, the focus here is on cows and the Brahmanas. Unfortunately, we are in the Kali Yuga period, and cows means many things to people. Cows means money making. Cows means they'll give milk, and when they stop giving milk, send them to the butcher shop. Finally, whatever you invest on the cow, you paid 50,000 rupees or 1 lakh, you will get many times more than that. That's the calculation. Expendables. You should use them to make money. What a horrible way to look at a cow. Looking at it in terms of making money, mercantile, merchandise, as goods out of which you make money. So very ruthlessly, cruel treatment is meted out to cows. This is Kali Yuga. And so very horrible reactions come. There is no doubt that if you harm a cow which is very dear to Krishna, you can expect the worst things happening. So all the calamities which we suffer, including what we are in now, coronavirus and wars and terrorists and people going completely amok, is all because of mishandling, ill-treating, killing the cow. Huge reactions are there for society. Unfortunately, rulers are not understanding that. And people who are so-called leaders, they also don't understand that in all sections of society. So protection, what does protection mean? Protecting them from harm, protecting them from exploitation by others. See, arguments are given by people that you guys also are eating this and that, plants, and you're also killing trees, and but the answer is given in the Bhagavatam also. What is that shloka? Ahastani sahastanam apadani chatuspadam falguni tatra mahatam jivo jivasya jivanam. That ahastani, those who don't have hands, sahastanam, are food for those who have hands. Apadani chatuspadam, those who don't have feet, they are food for those who have 4 feet. Chatuspadam. Falguni tatra mahatam. It's always that the weak are preyed upon by the strong. Jivo jivasya jivanam. One living entity becomes the source of food for the other living entity. That's how society is designed, right? So we are specifically, each one is supposed to eat particular types of things. Normally a tiger will hunt and voraciously, passionately, blood and gore, it will eat raw meat. That's how it is designed. There's an ecological balance maintained by each one of these creatures doing naturally what they're supposed to do. But human beings are not supposed to live like that. Human beings are supposed to eat what's prescribed for them, just like animals are eating what is prescribed for them. You don't see a cow munching up a chicken. You don't see an elephant hunting and killing a deer and eating it up. You won't see all these things in society. You won't see a tiger chewing grass. You don't see all these things. Never will you see. Never will you see. So similarly, a human being should never be eating a cow, meat, and all these type of things. And then there'll be arguments for that, saying that Shastra, it says like this. Those are exceptional circumstances. What is offered in sacrifice, that is sometimes given for Kshatriyas to eat or Shudras to eat. That's all. Nobody goes out of the way and feeds off and grows chickens and in huge farms and kills by the billions. It seems some 6 billion or 16 billion chickens were killed 2019 in America alone as food. 16 billion chickens. And it worked out to 28 chickens per head of the population. So huge mass productions of sheep and cows and chickens and name it, turkeys during Christmas, and mass production and mass killing. How will this reaction not affect human society? Right? So that type of logic that keeps away God from management, leadership, and then tries to do something on their own, that's always riddled with these type of difficulties. So protection of cows and brahmanas, why is it important? Because brahmanas are the head of society, and they are renounced, very well read, fully knowledgeable, know all the different types of information given in the Vedas, know how to do things, how not to do things. So they are great consultants and advisors to the Kshatriya. It's very important advice that they give. So they value that advice so much because of the brains that they have. And therefore the Kshatriyas look after the Brahmanas. And their needs are very less. Their needs are hardly anything. They're very renounced. So really speaking, it's very easy to maintain the Brahmanas and they get their blessings. So that everything functions prosperously. That is intelligence. But if you ill-treat the Brahmanas, if you forget what religion is about, if you forget the Supreme Lord whom the Brahmana is promoting, the instructions of whom the Brahmana is promoting, and if you harass them, torture them, and do these type of things, then the Brahmanas and the cows, when they are not there, human society becomes totally like a ship without a rudder, does not know where it is going. And these people cannot lead without the help of the Brahmins. Values, religious values are very important. It should not be just done away with whimsically. That's why we need a very good understanding of what is this world, who constituted it, who are we, what are we doing here, what is the manual for functioning here. That's a Vedic literature, the manual. And in that manual in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's mentioned cows and Brahmins should be protected. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadithaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Go Brahmana, cows and Brahmanas, protector of the cows and the Brahmanas, right? So these are exalted Brahmanas, the four Kumaras. And that value is being affirmed. It's being highlighted. It's being stressed by Krishna in front of everybody for the whole world to see. I respect the Brahmanas highly. They are very valuable to me. They are very dear to me because they speak my instructions to others. They keep society going religiously, the God in the center. So the best way to kill a society is to kill the Brahmanas, is to kill the cows. And this was started by the British. The British people studied Vedic culture very well, how it works. Robert Clive, it seems, employed Brahmins. He paid them huge sums of money. They became attracted. And he asked them to pick out from the scripture everything about the glories of cow, everything about how it functions. And so they explained everything. And they wrote documents and took out quotations and everything and translated it. They did a huge lot of work because they were paying money. So those Brahmins, the best of Brahmins, were called by him. And they did this research, and he came to know by distilled research and understanding and dialogues with all of them that, okay, Brahmanas are on the top, they are the brains of society, they give all the advice, and they're really very smart and intelligent. Then it's cows. Cows give milk. Milk sharpens everybody's intellect very well to understand Shastra. Not only that, cow's milk gives ghee. And the ghee is what is used in yajna, homa, everything by the Brahmins. So by performing this yajna and homa and propitiating all the demigods and the Supreme Lord Vishnu, everything rains on them. Prosperity, money, plenty of water, plenty of grains, plenty of good living, all these things happen. Wonderful civilization based on Yevam Pravartitam Chakram Nanu Vartaiha Aghayur Indriya Ramo Moham Partha Sajivati. Anyone who doesn't follow this cycle of sacrifice, Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Moham Partha Sajivati, he is living in vain, he is living in great illusion, because this is the system I have set up for people to be prosperous. Demigods will supply everything that's required. So in this way, there is a system in place, and Brahmins play a very important role in that. We cannot deny certain things. You cannot say that, no, I don't like it that Brahmins are like that. You could also be a Brahmin if you want. You can culture yourself. There's no loss. Not that only Brahmins means you're born in a Brahmin family. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has explained that very nicely in his books. In the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, we create Brahmins. We do a whole samskara on them. They're taught, they're told about the supreme absolute truth, and they learn very deeply from the Bhagavad Gita, from the Bhagavatam, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and they are very deeply convinced about the absolute truth. And so they preach that, they propagate that, and they follow that. And their life is totally transformed. They are Brahmins. They are even more than Brahmins. They are Vaishnavas. So that protection is affirmed here by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana himself. Yes, because they are very important to me. Because through them, only this whole material world is sanctified. The cows and the Brahmanas are pivotal roles. The Brahmana is consulted for everything to do, from material life to spiritual life. And that is done very carefully. It's a beautiful civilization, Vedic civilization. It's a wonderful civilization because Krishna himself has instituted it. He says that, Varnashramacharyavata Purushena Parapuman Vishnuraratyate. And the purpose is to worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his form as Vishnu, in his form as Krishna, Shamashundara, like that. So leading people to worship of the Supreme Absolute Truth is really education. And you will see that Prabhupada has tried to institute that through the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So these are very important statements. And it is mentioned here that cow is supposed to be the daughter of the sun god, because the son of the sun god also is Yamaraj, right? So cow and Yamaraj are related, and cow and Yamuna are also related. She is also the daughter of the sun, I think. Just as children are taken care of the parents, women as a class should be taken care of by the father, husband. And this is something that people don't like to hear nowadays, that they are not equal, they are weaker and fairer sex, so they have to be under the protection of this. If you say that people Now is the time of independence, and people, independent women also want to be very independent without any dependence. They work, they earn their money, and they decide whether to get married or not. Many of them don't get married. And in Kali Yuga, I mean, all sorts of things, permutations and combinations. Sometimes we have to neglect these things and see just how that person can become Krishna conscious. Will he chant Hare Krishna? Will we read Bhagavad and Bhagavad Gita? Then we say that that should solve all the so-called difficulties and problems. So everybody is becoming smart. How I will actually lead my spiritual life and be successful? How I can navigate my this thing? And sometimes male members decide, okay, I don't get married, which is encouraged highly. But women not getting married is very rarely recognized in Vedic culture. But however, in these times, sometimes we say, okay, we tolerate it, and the person is like fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, preaching, helping, counseling in the community, then we don't say anything much. We don't say anything much. Okay, you're engaged in Krishna conscious service, you're not doing anything crazy and wild and joining atheistic mentality and saying that women should be free, and that freedom is something else, very different from the type of freedom that we offer to devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement who are in the female bodies, right? Some constraints are there. So, how to protect women, children, cows, and brahmanas is a central role to be played by the government and by the leaders. This is one important point. If somehow we can take care of this point, say in India, the ruling government is doing a lot of work on protecting the cow and giving education to children and all that. So we are hoping that they will take hints from the Krishna consciousness movement in the books of Prabhupada and also inculcate some of these things and call upon us. We have been called upon in many places, and we are also taking part in some of those deliberations. Our vision is that we want to create an ideal society as per these prescriptions here. And Krishna very much desires that. Chaturu Varnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. Krishna has explained that in Bhagavad Gita also. So in this way, in these two purports, we can understand how important it is to protect the cows and the brahmanas at least. And everybody in Vedic times in their house had a cow. Cow is in everybody's house. Because cow will be milked, cow will be worshipped every day, Gomata worship will be there, they'll go around and do pradakshina. Then they will use the cow dung for fuel, then they'll use the cow urine for medicine, and they'll use the milk for nutrifying themselves. And this way, a cow is like a huge kalpavriksha. It gives so many things for human society, right? So killing that cow means killing civilization. That's the for some of them it's very difficult to understand how these people are just talking about the cow and cow, you know. So our answer is that cow is not just any other ordinary animal. It's a very special animal put there specifically for helping human society to progress. So lots of wonderful stories also you can hear about the greatness of some of these brahmanas, their selfless nature and their desire to do service for Krishna, and how they are humbly placed. Especially the story of Sudama is very interesting and revealing. We have heard that before. Then there is the story of Ambarish Maharaj, great Kshatriya, who also ruled. And then there is the story of other types of people taking leadership positions. And in all these positions, they have always relied on Krishna's mercy. And those stories are maybe the most impactful, wonderful stories that we have ever heard. So our endeavor is actually to bring this narrative to the access of everybody and make people understand this. Om Tat Sat. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Any question? Will there be any question? I have to leave a little early. I got something at 9 o'clock. So stopped about 10 minutes early. Hare Krishna.